Harris weighs more breaks with Biden as he keeps injecting himself into the campaign. Top aides to Kamala Harris are heading into the final month of the 2024 presidential race, still wrestling with how much distance she can credibly claim from Joe Biden as she looks for more ways to weave in breaks with him on the campaign trail. But she keeps getting pulled back to his side for official business at the White House. And he keeps injecting himself into the conversation. Harris aides are looking at rolling out new plans and promises for what Harris would do as president, in part to directly demonstrate notable differences, like in her recent more blunt speeches about abortion rights and tackling the southern border. The challenge of having so little time left in such a short race, one advisor to the vice president told CNN, is when you're trying to reach undecided low-intensity voters, how do you actually communicate difference with Biden? Running as an extension of the president is not a strong position, Harris aides know, while asserting what she stands for is. Neither aides in the Harris campaign nor the Biden White House would commit to another joint campaign event between now and the election. Harris wants to create space, top aides say, but not too much space. She wants to be loyal, but she also wants to win. She is still planning to lean on Biden, who is flying to Milwaukee on Tuesday for an event trumpeting more projects made possible by administration efforts, to buck up union members or to park himself in battleground Pennsylvania for political stops in the final weeks. But no one on the vice president's team is upset that Biden is headed to spend a whole week of October overseas on a non-pressing diplomatic trip to Germany and Angola. Some wish he'd go away for longer. Part of leading Democrats' focus on Biden is seeing him as the albatross embodiment for the unsettling feeling spreading among Democrats that the vice president is not, or at least, not yet, where she needs to be to win in just over 4 weeks. Still haunted by the 2016 election, they're frustrated and despairing that even now, seemingly no number of Donald Trump's offensive statements, lies, lack of plans or legal problems can shake his support. I'll go to my grave not understanding why, but I know it's a fact that this is going to be a margin of error race, is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's line voicing this sentiment on the trail. The former president and his running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, are trying to make Harris out to be the incumbent, talking as if she had been the one signing executive orders for the past 3 years. The balance is tricky for a vice president squeezed between battered voters desperate for change, Republicans responding to her every new proposal by asking why she hasn't implemented them already, and an incumbent president whose numbers have been going up with some of the core constituencies she needs. Biden's and Harris' separate appearances surveying Hurricane Helene damage on Wednesday is like much of what's to come, singing from the same song sheet, as Biden put it on Friday, but rarely having them side by side. Even that was a source of tension. Biden's decision to go to North Carolina earlier in the week meant that Harris had to hold off on her own trip to a state that she is in an intense fight to win. No issue for Harris is thornier than the escalating violence in the Middle East ahead of the anniversary of the October 7, 2023, Hamas attacks. With hundreds of thousands of votes on the line in battleground Michigan alone, a range of leaders are pushing her to explicitly distance herself from Biden, people familiar with the discussions tell CNN. But her aides know there can't be any daylight when she's also sitting at his right hand in the Situation Room. But the economy remains the most frustrating for them, with voters still complaining about a recovery that keeps coming in stronger than almost any expert predicted. Biden wants the credit, while Harris wants to talk about the pain that people are feeling and how much more there is to be done without being undercut for the suffering on this administration's watch. That came to a head in September, when Harris responded to the Federal Reserve's interest rate cut with a statement about how much more work needs to be done. Then her aides had to spend hours negotiating with their White House counterparts to scale back a victory lap speech Biden planned to give the next day, according to a person familiar with the matter. Asked what kind of role she would want Biden to have in the last stretch of Harris' campaign, given how both the situation in Israel and economic frustrations are reverberating through her home state, Michigan Representative Debbie Dingell said, "That's a complicated question." Dingell, a longtime booster of Biden who is once again sounding the alarm in her blue wall state, declined to say more. "I am not Joe Biden versus a major player in everything we've done." Internal Harris campaign research on the September presidential debate found that one of the most popular moments for the vice president was when she said, "Clearly, I am not Joe Biden." On Friday, after weeks of some junior White House aides complaining to colleagues about having to run statements and other ideas by the campaign, Biden took a different approach. She was a major player in everything we've done, including the passage of legislation which we were told we could never pass, Biden said. She's been, and her staff is interlocked with mine in terms of all the things we're doing. Aides say Biden's decision to show up in the White House briefing room for his first time ever as president was aimed at breaking through to Americans a sense of a good week, in holding off more violence in the Middle East, ending the dockworkers' strike and another strong monthly jobs report. He reveled in laughing dismissively at now devoted Trump backer Florida